Hey there, Gothamites. Brian Ward here with another episode of the Arkham Sessions brought to you by Comics Alliance. And with me, as always, the absolutely fantastic psychologist to the superheroes, the superheroines, and of course the supervillains, Dr. Andrea Letamendi.
This is a podcast that's dedicated to the psychology of Batman the Animated Series. Every week, we tackle a new episode. We talk about the characters, the villains, and, the relationships between them. And I try to lift out the psychological themes and talk about some of the very real and hopefully some interesting topics and phenomena that are specific to psychology.
Yeah, and last week, we may have touched a psychological nerve with some people. Might have been sort of because of something I may or may not have said.
Of course.
Of course, I'm referring to Robin's Reckoning Part 2. If you've not listened to it, toward the end of the show, I hypothesized that maybe Batman, at some point in time in his history, could have come in contact with Joe Chill, the man responsible for the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne, Bruce's parents. And that it's possible that he went over the line, and that it's possible he may have even killed Joe Chill. This, of course, sent shockwaves through geekdom, and I'm partially sorry for that, but it got people talking, and that's exactly what we wanted.
Well, remember, I didn't disagree with you. Mm-hmm. You had pointed out that it could explain why he has this kind of, he protects Robin from getting involved with Zuko's case.
Yeah.
And, I thought it was plausible because, we talked about the idea that Batman may truly believe that he's beyond the point of recovery.
Right.
That, sure, he acknowledges that he and Robin experienced very similar traumas as children. They both lost their parents. They both saw this happen. And something is he truly believes that he is unable to recover from that he has lost a part of his life, but that Robin, Dick Grayson, is, that there's hope for him, mm-hmm. that he could have a more normal life, but he's got to stay away from, some of the very things that I think Bruce Wayne believes, caused him to go down this dark path, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, he specifically tells Dick as a 11-year-old boy,
but it will get better in time for you.
Mm-hmm. And we pointed on that a couple of times, implying that it won't get any better for Bruce. Bruce will never be rid of the Batman persona. He will never fully feel like he is over the death of his parents. Right. And I think that is very important. But I will say that, and all of this sort of was spawned by a tweet we received that specifically said, Brian Ward's, actually, he says brain, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Brian Ward's attempts at creating interest by pushing off-the-wall theories is driving me nuts.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
what do you do to these people?
I got to say, it's not that off the wall. And I also have to say, it's not a theory, it's a hypothesis. But when you go back, the point of this show is to look at these characters as they grow, as they evolve, as they go from one episode to the next. And here we're 35 episodes in. We have seen the Joker, who we will talk about in this episode. We have seen Scarecrow. We have seen Mr. Freeze. We have seen people, and we have seen their arcs. The one constant is Bruce / Bruce Wayne / Batman.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's unfair to say that since Perchance to Dream, where he was given the opportunity to live a perfect life and turned it down because he was haunted by the Batman.
You did this to me!
I don't think it's unfair to say that it's possible it wasn't the mission that he was haunted by. It could have been his past. It could have been who Batman is because of something he did early in his career. I mean, even in the flashbacks to Robin as a young boy, as young Dick Grayson, even at that point, Jim Gordon is referring to Batman to others as the Batman or this Batman. He specifically says,
This Batman's got Zuko real spooked.
Yeah.
So he's not as familiar with this vigilante. It's possible that this was toward the beginning of Batman's own career in Gotham City.
Right.
So I don't think it's unheard of to think that it's possible that he tracked down Joe Chill the same way Dick Grayson is trying to track down Tony Zuko. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he may have reached the same limit that Dick Grayson as Robin reaches when he finally gets Zuko in his clutches. He nearly kills him.
You're through, Zuko. Forever.
Right.
Had Batman not been there, he probably would have. Mm-hmm. It's not unreasonable to think Batman went through that exact same situation. And he seems so hell-bent on keeping Dick from going down the same path. One has to wonder why. I posit this. I get that it's a 22-minute show. I get that it's got to, and in this case, a 44-minute show because it's a two-parter. But if Robin was going to go out and find Zuko on his own, I get why Batman might be nervous, because Batman wouldn't necessarily be there to help Robin. That's not the case. Batman had Robin in the Batmobile, took him home, dropped him off, and then left. I firmly believe when Batman says, "I didn't want to see him take you too," I don't think Robin was genuinely in danger. I don't think Tony Zuko was going to be able to take on both Batman and Robin. Like, I don't think Robin was going to die.
Right. So, I mean, you're referring to the idea that Batman was talking about Dick Grayson's healthy functioning.
Yeah.
That if he were to continue this path, Tony Zuko, as crazy as that man is, as violent, as dangerous, but also with the potential that he embodies the revenge that Robin is seeking.
Yeah.
That if Robin, finds him and enacts his feelings of hatred and guilt and shame and all the things that he's experiencing, he may cross the line.
Yeah.
And that's one line that I think Batman thinks you can't return from. That
Right.
once you cross that line, you're forever gone. Psychologically speaking.
And we see Robin sort of going down that path as he starts to say things like,
I've waited a long time.
he is reaching that point of no return even in that moment. And I think it's fair to say that in my logic, Batman probably didn't think Robin was in physical danger.
Right.
If they took on Zuko together.
Right. Well, right. And here's the thing. It's not just about this episode. Like, what I'm hearing from you is that you're coming up with these hypotheses and you're expressing them, and it's coming out of a place of curiosity. It's coming out of a place of knowing the Batman universe and lore. And clearly you're expressing things that I think other people might be thinking about or have questions about. So, occasionally, I don't know about your ginger theories. We entertain them once in a while. But I think for the most part, you're raising questions that most people, whether they're in this field of psychology or not, would be asking.
Yeah, I want to make it very clear that this tweet, and I think this part of the tweet kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I'm okay with criticism, by the way. If you've got criticism, please let us know. But he is suggesting that I am attempting to create interest. And I'm
No.
putting forth these hypotheses that are off the wall solely for quote unquote the ratings.
Let me just say for the record, off air, you are constantly asking questions about Batman's functioning and why he does what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the reasons that we thought to even start this show is so that we can sit down and really talk about Batman's psychology, about his functioning. And so, among other things in the animated series. So it's very clear. I want to make it even clearer that for the record, you are not bringing up these hypotheses to, to get some kind of reaction from me or
Right.
from listeners.
Yeah. I had a very pleasant conversation with at SunOChamp on Twitter, who doesn't think that he killed Joe Chill, but certainly thinks it's interesting to think about, certainly acknowledges that Dick Grayson grounded Batman in some way, actually made him a little lighter. It's not a coincidence that Batman is portrayed darker before he met Dick Grayson, or maybe just after he met Dick Grayson, to the way that he is portrayed now. And then, of course, our good friend of the show, Bernard O'Shea, I couldn't possibly thank enough, because he wrote a fantastic email in support. Now, he reminded me of things. I've been reading Batman since I was a wee lad, but I had even forgotten some of these cases, and Bernard O'Shea jumped right on them. Now in these particular storylines, Batman didn't kill Joe Chill, but he certainly got really close, and then, just like Robin, decided not to, and then usually by the end of the story, Joe Chill died anyway, usually kind of by accident. But he pointed out in Batman Year 2, which, for those who don't know, is Detective Comics 575 to 578. Basically, the whole plot is Batman is kind of teaming up with Joe Chill in order to fight the Reaper. And there comes a time when Batman has the opportunity to exact revenge for his parents on Joe Chill, and doesn't. Of course, the Reaper ends up getting Joe Chill. But then there is an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold called The Chill of Night, and that is actually considered one of the best episodes of that animated series. And it's written by Paul Dini. So it certainly has some bit of connection. But again, Batman is presented with an opportunity to kill Joe Chill, decides not to. Joe may or may not make it out of that episode. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
And then you've got cases like, I don't know, Batman Begins, where, Bruce Wayne is specifically going to Joe Chill's trial with a gun in his pocket, ready to kill him. He doesn't get the opportunity, but there's no reason to believe that he wouldn't have had someone not done it, in the hallway of the courtroom.
Well, and the common thread here among all these stories, both in comics and film, is that there's this, he entertains the idea of murdering Joe Chill.
Yeah.
He thinks about and prepares and is ready to end the life of the person that ended his parents' life.
Yeah.
Ended his parents' lives, I should say. So that, I think, is the realistic part of this.
Yeah.
And I think that what's great about that commonality is that he's willing to do it. There are points in his life when he's willing to do it. And again, that's very realistic.
Yeah.
When you talk to folks who are recovering from an interpersonal trauma like that, that's one of the first things that they want to do.
Yeah.
They want to end the life of, they want to cause the same pain that person caused them.
Yeah.
So, of course, we don't see Batman do it, but I think that if this raises questions for us, maybe that wasn't the intent, but it raises questions for us. Wow, he must have really gone to a dark place.
Yeah, and it certainly suggests that Batman doesn't want Dick to have to go through that same dark place. It might even suggest that he's not 100% sure Dick is ready to be at that place. And we see that Dick might just be on the other side of the right place. Like but had Batman not been there, we don't know what would have happened. So it's fair to say. And by the way, I will point out there's the Jeff Loeb story, Dark Victory, where we actually see a similar situation where Robin is chasing down his Joe Chill, Tony Zuko, and Zuko actually dies of a heart attack. So Robin didn't do it, but he was given the opportunity. So it's not so off the wall.
No, and in all these stories, it's interesting that Zuko or Joe Chill end up dying in some other way.
Yeah.
As if to say, like, the pain ends here.
Yeah. We also had a fantastic email from Kyle Villarama. Sorry, I'm hoping one of those pronunciations was correct. But Kyle actually talks a little bit about the episode Robin's Reckoning and how it reminded him of something that is going on in his own life. And I thought that it was important to note it. And luckily he was okay with us talking about it on the show. But he actually emailed and said that the idea of Bruce taking in Dick with the hope that Dick will not grow up to be like Bruce resonates in his own life. He says, I volunteer at my church as a youth group leader. I've worked with 5th and 6th graders, middle school teenagers, and am now working with high school teenagers. I take that same mentality of wanting to help steer these teenagers away from paths that I've taken. I feel like I'm helping the kid I once was, much like how Bruce does when he has Robin by his side. Listening to these episodes made me reflect on that aspect of my life. I just want to thank you for that, and I look forward to more episodes from you. So definitely, I think these shows are taking on sort of a whole new life, and we thank Kyle for emailing us on that.
What a nice note.
Yeah. It's conversations like this that really get me revved up. I enjoy them. I enjoy talking with people about different possibilities, and I appreciate everyone who tweeted us, everyone who emailed us. You guys are the absolute best, and we like to keep that conversation going. So send us more tweets, whether it's at Arkham Sessions or at Arkham Asylum Doc or at BWars028. Send us emails, arkhamsessions@gmail.com. Or Under the Mask online. And let's keep this conversation going, whether it's specifically this one or this episode coming up. Let's talk about this episode.
And people can disagree with us, and it's happened before.
Yeah.
But I think, we don't have other ulterior motives about why we bring up the ideas that we bring up.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's your perception and your opinion versus mine. Now, I tend to have that academic, scientific background, so that's what I try to bring to folks. But again, you're asking the questions that other people have too. Mm-hmm. And so when those are raised, I want to have that discussion.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, Brain.
Thank you. I will do just that. So let's talk about this episode. We are, of course, talking about The Laughing Fish, an absolute fan favorite, and for good reason. It was written by Paul Dini, directed by Bruce Timm. So at the very least, we know we're going to have an amazingly entertaining episode, if nothing else. And this is an opportunity for us to take a look at one of our favorite characters, the Joker, and his accomplice, Harley Quinn. It's her second appearance on the show, but it is the Joker's 5th appearance. The very first time that we were introduced to him during Christmas of the Joker, you were kind of leaning toward, if I remember correctly, borderline personality disorder, because he seemed to have an emotional connection toward Batman and wanted to spend Christmas Eve with him. And then since then, you have sort of slid into antisocial personality disorder. So we'll talk about whether you think it is still the case or not as we go forward through the episode.
Well, of course, with Dini and Tim behind the episode, it's always going to be a blast. It's always going to be well written. Of course, Joker episodes tend to be adventurous, full of action,
and very weird plots.
Weird plots, and of course, violence. He is, of all the villains, he is the one who's, I would say, the most violent, the most unpredictable.
Yeah. Let's go through it. So we start out, Joker is at large. Again. They just can't keep him. What's really funny is whenever we see him in Arkham Asylum, he seems to be enjoying himself, behind his glass door. He's playing cards or he's, whatever. I think he's always just sort of waiting his time out. He knows that he's going to escape again. He's developing some sort of scheme. I will give Joker that. He is always very well planned and ready to go. So I think that's probably what he's doing while he's enjoying himself in Arkham Asylum. But he has escaped, and he is still at large. Batman appears to basically be waiting for the Joker to make his move. Yeah. Because we, in the very beginning of the episode, see it. A group of fishermen come in. They are bringing in their catch, and they lay it down on the pier, and all of the fish look like the Joker. They're all white and have the perma smiles. They've got the green fins. They definitely, the big red lips. They have definitely been affected in some way, shape, or form with the Joker's toxin.
He's made his move.
That's what he was waiting for.
He was waiting for the fish. He got the fish.
Yeah.
Well, now what?
Batman takes one of the fish into the Batcave
right.
in order to analyze it. And once again, Batman has no sense of humor.
Dining in tonight, sir?
The dissection tray, please, Alfred.
Clearly, your butler is making a joke here, and
No time for that.
ain't got time for that. Harley and Joker enter what appears to be, it's a patent office, essentially. And the Joker wants a patent on this fish. He wants a piece of every fish sold, only to be told that that kind of thing doesn't happen. You can't patent fish. You can't trademark this.
Oh, and his reasoning is that now all the fish in Gotham Bay have the Joker perma-smile on them. He owns them. Now they have his trademark. So therefore, he's entitled to any profits.
Millions of dollars a day to finance my happily hedonistic lifestyle.
Yeah. And when he's told by Mr. G. Carl Francis at the office that that sort of thing doesn't happen, he slaps him upside the face with a fish, and Harley complains.
Ooh, fish stinkeroonie.
Sprays a little pink perfume on him. This can't be good. And they all walk away, but the Joker makes it clear that this guy has got very little time to change his mind, as if he could. Otherwise,
You'll be the poorest fish of all.
we then go back to Batman dissecting the fish, and he has determined that there is a particular toxin that the Joker has used that is only affecting the fish. It's not something that can affect the humans in the same way.
They're finny and funny and oh so delish. They're joyful and jolly Joker-fish.
Say, Mom, wondering what to feed the family tonight?
What'll I feed the family tonight?
Arr, try me famous Joker fish.
Joker's making himself very clear.
Coming to your local store just as soon as that nasty old Mr. G. Carl Francis decides to give me my legal cut of the profits.
I want my piece. And he thinks it's a legal piece. Like he's like, no. I am entitled to this.
Well,
legally.
I don't think he cares about the logic
No.
or the legality.
Yeah.
I think at this point his threats are, it's really a part of his personality. He doesn't care whether he's in the right or wrong. He wants what he wants.
Yeah, the cops put Mr. Francis under protection. He doesn't understand why he's being picked on, but the Batman gets in, and in an interesting way, they're like, don't worry, this is locked down, you're under protection. Batman comes from the shadows, dressed as a security guard, or as a cop, undresses. He's still wearing the cowl and the cape and everything under the costume. How the cape fit down into the pants.
Hey,
and,
it's part of...
it's a little weird, but he says,
If I got in this easily, so will the Joker.
he's either giving the Joker a lot of due credit by saying, look, Joker's on my level. If I can get in, Joker can. Or he's making the Joker out to be better than he, in that he's like, look, if I can get in, Joker could totally get in. I'm not even that good at this.
I think what's interesting about that comment is, despite the beginning of the episode where he says, only the Joker can really understand what he's doing, he's admitting that he and the Joker are similar. If he can get in, if he can find a way, then the Joker, with his mastermind and his level of intelligence, he can get into.
Yeah.
So in some ways he aligns himself, with him.
Francis can't understand why he is being picked on. He insists that he's harmless, that he can't change the law. He's not even after the Joker. He's got nothing to do with this. He's completely harmless.
And in his sick mind, that's the joke, Mr. Francis.
Francis is scratching himself. There seems to be, he's been itching lately. He thinks it might be stress related or something. But Batman realizes that he's been infected somehow.
Get this man to a hospital, now!
That's when a swordfish comes crashing in through the window, starts releasing a toxin, and no one is affected except for Francis. Francis begins convulsing and going into the perma-smile phase. Yeah. And in a very awful way, too. The way that they animated this, his eyes begin bulging.
So creepy.
And it's not a pleasant transformation. And he is laughing hysterically. Batman realizes that he's been infected, and he gives him an anti-venom. And it says that this is all part of a binary compound. Francis had clearly received part 1 earlier today when he was slapped in the face and Harley sprayed him with the perfume. And now the second part of the compound is the gas that it was unleashed. So no one else was going to be infected. Mm-hmm. This was clearly meant for Francis. But he has saved him and everything's fine, except that there's another commercial. And the Joker says,
"If I don't get legal claim to my fish by 3 a.m., the number 2 bureaucrat, Thomas Jackson, will feel my wrath."
Aw, shit.
Batman has a plan to protect Jackson, and they're all standing around. Jackson is sitting in his chair. Batman is standing by the window. A cat waddles his way in carrying a fish. And this is one of Jackson's cats. And the cat seems to also be affected.
It's affecting him. Look out!
And goes to scratch the Batman. Mm-hmm. Scratches Batman, and Batman begins laughing hysterically. His eyes begin bulging, the perma smile, the whole 9 yards. And we find out that Batman was actually disguised as Jackson in the chair. Jackson was disguised as Batman. So again, Batman is letting more people wear his cape and cowl.
The old switcheroo.
The whole. And I gotta say, just looking at Jackson in the Batman costume, he's a fit guy.
He's looking good.
He's fit. He looks just like Batman.
Maybe that was not Batman's costume. That was just a kind of a...
No, you used that once before.
No, because it has to fit, Mr. Jackson.
Jackson,
right?
Yeah.
So he probably had, kind of a cheap copy made.
Right.
So that he could wear it. And then the cat wouldn't know the difference.
Well,
Turns out the cat...
The cat does know, yeah.
The cat's going straight for the right guy, regardless of what he's wearing.
Even drugged, the cat went straight for its master.
And they look at the fish and realize that it's a Japanese tang, and it's not native to Gotham's waters. So they're wondering where this fish came from. Harvey Bullock had enough. He leaves. He's angry. He feels like he can do this on his own without the Batman's help. Turns out he could.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good detective after all. He goes straight to the aquarium, and if it weren't for Harley uses that famous gigantic revolver that we've seen with the cork pop. Mm-hmm. She shoots it, and it ends up tying him up. Joker grabs him with a hook and elevates him over a shark tank. So he's going fishing with Harvey Bullock. It's sort of determined that would be a bad idea.
Why spoil my sharky's appetite when I can feed him bigger fish?
Let's talk about Harley here, because Harley she's now sort of the classic Harley that we know, which is interesting to say because technically this is only the second time that we've seen her. Harley is now the loyal sidekick, She is only in the Harley Quinn outfit for which she's known throughout this episode.
Yeah.
She is calling him Puddin'. She appears to have a little bit more of that enamored quality about her. He offers her the opportunity to be his little mermaid.
Yeah.
Right before he slaps a big fish costume onto her, and she says,
You're really sick, you know that, boss?
Yeah.
so let's talk about Harley and the Joker's relationship so far in this episode.
Well, you're right. We see more of a connected romantic relationship here compared to that first time that we saw Harley.
Yeah.
So we get the sense that they, they're attracted to each other. They have this unique relationship, but we're starting to see some additional signs that he's coercive, that he's abusive, that he manipulates her. We also see signs that he likes her. He's affectionate towards her. He uses, he doesn't use the same nicknames and stuff that she does, but he's flirty with her. He's flirtatious. He's charming. And
he's kept her on. Like we've never seen him carry on a sidekick before. This is someone from a previous heist that went wrong, and she's right there with him.
Yeah. But as you pointed out, he has done some things that are problematic, that there are signs that we should worry about.
Yeah.
Like when they have that commercial, he's force feeding her to eat whatever fish.
Yeah, she really doesn't like fish, but he is force feeding her, and she ends up throwing it up.
Yeah. He uses that big disguise, that fish head on her, throws that on her. So nothing too violent yet, but we're seeing that he's definitely taking advantage of her, and he's kind of using her to get what he wants.
Yeah.
And it's unclear now what he wants. I'm not really convinced that he wants profits from the fish in the Gotham Bay. I think that he actually wants to be close to Batman again.
And I was going to bring that up. I'm now wondering, does this mean that he's shifting more toward borderline again? Because this entire ruse, this entire setup seems to be almost solely to bring Batman to the aquarium so that they can hang out together, and that once again, Batman can be put into some kind of danger caused by the Joker. But the Joker doesn't really seem to really want the profit from the fish. He wants the interaction with Batman.
Right. It's almost like he's either lost focus or that was never the intention anyway.
Yeah, it was solely the catalyst.
Yeah. And I agree, to quickly review borderline, because we talked about borderline personality disorder early on in Christmas with the Joker.
Yeah.
Borderline is one of those personality disorders. So again, it's that pervasive, long-standing, a lifelong type of condition characterized by a number of different traits that would be problematic in regards to relationships, in regards to emotion regulation. And we had hypothesized that the Joker's interest and even flirtation with Batman and his interest in sort of having this violent relationship with him, if you will, where he would risk his own life, risk Batman's life, just to kind of stay close with him, to be connected with him in some way, was indicative of some of these traits.
Right.
Some of the essential features of borderline personality disorder is that pattern of instability in interpersonal relationships.
Okay.
It's problems, confusion with someone's self-image, and as I said, difficulty with affect or emotion regulation. And there's a lot of impulsivity associated with this disorder. What I mean by impulsivity is, not really thinking about the consequences, self-harm, threatening other people, threatening oneself, just really kind of the self-injurious type of behavior that we've talked about before.
That's probably the one element that I'm not sure he fits into, in that he seems to know the consequences. He seems to be very well thought out. He's not so much impulsive. He will threaten people, absolutely. He will do things to other people, absolutely. But he always seems to sort of know what's at stake. But he does it anyway. Like, he's okay with that.
So you're saying that even though he thinks about the consequences, he doesn't care what those are.
Yes.
It could involve hurting other people, and it doesn't matter to him.
Right.
And that's indicative of some signs of antisocial personality disorder, which we talked about in Be a Clown, in Joker's Favor, where he has no remorse. He doesn't care that he might be hurting other people. And antisocial personality disorder is another one of those. I mean, of course, it's another personality disorder, a lifelong pervasive cluster of characteristics. Now, this time, with this particular personality disorder, it's characterized by lack of emotion, by lack of remorse, again, not really being affected, that you might be hurting someone, that you might be endangering them. And there could even be some kind of thrill or pleasure derived from violating the rights of other people.
Let's talk about that, because that's a perfect lead-in to what he then ends up doing. He admits that he shouldn't kill Bullock right away because feeding the sharks would fill them up and they wouldn't be willing to eat Batman. So Batman does in fact come in. And here's another case of where Batman is constantly dark, constantly shadows. The way that they've animated this is once again sort of how I would like to continue to see Batman animated, where you don't get very good looks at him. But they catch him, and he offers himself up to take Harvey's place.
I'm the one you're after.
Harley cuffs him.
I think I'll start using my toxin on cattle. Joker burgers! Ha! Talk about a happy meal. Oh, you never could take a joke.
Once again, Batman, no sense of humor. You know, you're like...
He's about to beat him to a shark.
Right.
I'm not sure that it's the time for Batman to consider the humor.
Hey, Joker pushes both Batman and Bullock into the tank. And Batman, this is where it totally gets really just Bruce Timm, Paul Dini.
Yeah.
Batman rides the shark.
Yeah, he does.
Jumps onto the shark, puts the cuffs into the shark's mouth, uses them as reins, begins to steer him around. He runs into the aquarium glass, cracking it, comes back through, does it again. The Joker is enjoying all of this immensely, which is perfectly illustrating your point that he has put them in this situation and loves it.
Yeah, it's a thrill to see this. You know, is Batman going to survive? Is Bullock going to survive? Oh man, the shark just crashed with the tank and water's everywhere. I mean, there's this enjoyment, this really kind of basic pleasure out of seeing this chaos and violence, and that's really, you know, that's kind of the disturbing aspect of the Joker.
Once the shark crashes through, Joker realizes that he might be in a little bit of trouble, goes up, trying to get out of here. He goes up onto the roof.
Leaves Harley, by the way.
Leaves Harley. Yeah, so
he's not really, he doesn't care. At this point, her life is in danger, and he just abandons her.
So we're still going with the antisocial personality.
Yeah,
sort of
I mean,
traits
that's indicative of, again, someone who doesn't have remorse, someone who's not thinking of other people's, you know, their...
Yeah. He leaves.
Yeah.
And Batman chases him, and they end up fighting one another. Batman slaps him, just straight up backhand slaps him.
This is kind of a violent scene because the Joker takes a wrench and we see him just smash it onto Batman, and then Batman throws punches. And there's definitely a lot of aggressive fighting, and it's kind of surprising to see that, you know, now to see that that's what animated shows used to be.
Well, and Joker runs over to the edge. Batman says,
There's no place left to go, Joker.
Once again, showing that the Joker has thought of everything, and he even says it. The Joker jumps off the edge in midair, inflates a sort of raft toy, inflatable thing, donut around himself. Only realizing in midair that he is landing in the water that the shark has sought for refuge. He is now jumping into shark-infested waters.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
Shark snap. Get it?
Oh, no.
Oh.
And Joker isn't seen or heard from again.
All we see is the Joker's card floating atop the water.
Yeah. And Harley is crying before she's taken away.
Oh, my poor pudding.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is sad.
Come on, he was a demented, abusive, psychotic maniac.
Yeah, I'm really gonna miss him.
Yeah, it's that actually, that little piece of dialogue says a lot, that this man is abusive and that you're better off without him. And she, in turn, admits that that's what she loved about him, that she has this unhealthy relationship with him.
Yeah.
And, and again, we see more of that unhealthy relationship here in this episode than the one before.
Where does she go from here?
She goes to Arkham Asylum.
No, I understand, but
She is deserving of receiving some kind of psychotherapy and rehabilitation in Arkham Asylum. That should be part of her, part of what she's owed. And I don't know that she gets that.
Mm-hmm. Does she have an upper hand when being treated at the asylum?
Well, yeah, she does, in that she knows what she's owed. She knows what she's deserving of in a place that she's receiving mental health care. So that's on her side. She should absolutely employ that knowledge and demand. She has the right to some of these interventions, some of the support and education that she should get,
but she
in order
knows
to recover.
If she doesn't want to recover, though, and she knows how it works, how the system works, not just the asylum and the how that particular system works, that hierarchy. I'm referring to the actual methods of psychological treatment. If she were a former psychiatrist and she understands how that works, can she then use it to
absolutely.
her own? She can fight it.
She can know what to say, to know how to manipulate her, professional caregivers and her psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And it's possible that she can manipulate her way out of Arkham Asylum. And although this was not an episode that covered the animated series, 2 weeks ago we covered Assault on Arkham, the recently released DC animated film, and there's a lot going on there regarding Harley and the Joker and their relationship and her knowledge of the mental health system. So I would recommend that folks, if they haven't already done so, check back a couple of weeks ago and listen to that episode as we really delve into their relationship.
Perfect. Okay, so we've talked about the Joker. We've talked a little bit about Harley. We've talked about their relationship. Your assessment after 5 episodes. Is the Joker now still going down the path of antisocial personality disorder, or is he bouncing back and forth between that and borderline?
Yeah, I think that he certainly meets a lot of that criteria. And it doesn't mean that he won't meet criteria for borderline personality disorder. He can have both. There can be what we call a comorbid diagnosis of borderline and antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
But, I think there's more evidence for antisocial personality disorder. But, and I think we would need more information about his unstable relationships, his motivations behind his, why he pursues Harley, why he pursues Batman. And, that would help us to understand whether he's meeting criteria for borderline. So the way, if you're interested in how I would kind of document this, I would say that his primary diagnosis is antisocial personality disorder, and a rule out, a working diagnosis perhaps, or a secondary diagnosis would be borderline personality disorder.
So it sounds like this sort of thing is clearly complicated, especially when you're talking about someone like the Joker. I highly recommend that if you have questions as listeners and you're interested in antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, or really anything that we've talked about, you should absolutely write in to arkhamsessions@gmail.com or go over to underthemaskonline.com and email Drea there. She is a wealth of information and has no problem just talking about this stuff.
I also want to point out that this week is National Suicide Prevention Week. Wednesday, September 10th, is National Suicide Prevention Day. And we, of course, this is something that we've talked about on our show several times. We have also talked about what number to call if someone is feeling hopeless, they don't know what to do, or they're having thoughts of suicide. That, of course, is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is 1-800-273-TALK. Again, 1-800-273-TALK. That's 8255.
So I think that's it for this week. It was a great opportunity to take a look at the Joker once again for his 5th time, and Harley for her 3rd. And I'm looking forward to seeing what I imagine will be the Joker teamed up with Harley once again. I don't think it's the last that we've seen of the Joker. How about you?
No, I mean, clearly he is one of the favorites. And as we well know, she is now developing into a very, a more complex and very fascinating character.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Drea, where can people find you online?
I am at Twitter at Arkham Asylum Doc. My website is underthemaskonline.com.
And I am at bward028. We can also be reached via email, arkhamsessions@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. Together, we are at Arkham Sessions. Next week, we are going to take a look at another interesting episode. This one's a brand new villain for us. In fact, we get to deal with ninjas.
Ooh.
I know, I'm very excited about ninjas. You can never really go wrong with a good ninja episode. But it's actually called Night of the Ninja, and that one will be next week. So until then, I'm Brian Ward.
I'm Dr. Andrea Letamendi.
And we are
The Arkham Sessions.